One of the common questions I get is on projections. Everybody wants to know how much sales they can get in X, number of months in future. And I get it because you want to know your return on investment. And often it usually comes in the form of, well, I need to have 12 months projections to present to my investors, to my board, insert stakeholder right there. So, or our, for our annual budget planning. What is the best way to arrive at that? So in this video, I'm going to talk through the decision-making tree on that, so you can make confident projections for your Amazon sales. My name is Irina Balurko. I'm a partner at Red Rocks E-commerce, where we help CPG brands get more value out of Amazon channel. Okay, so you want to know that magic number of how much sales you can get in 12 months on Amazon. So let's start with a scenario where you already sell on Amazon, and then I'm going to talk through that, and then we're going to talk through how to make projections for your growth on Amazon when you're brand new to Amazon. So if you already sell on Amazon, the good news is that you have existing data. The bad news, you have existing data, right? So you do have a baseline, so that's good. So you can have some confident kind of determinations and projections based on actual performance. However, we know that past performance does not predict future results, right? As we say, so Goldman Sachs past is still in me, obviously. What I also hear, because of our human nature, we tend to be overly optimistic about our future. Humans tend to think the future is going to be better than past, right? Otherwise, why bother? And also the further out horizon, the more optimistic we are, which is why I'm going to talk through the factors that actually introduce risk into your projections for sales on Amazon, and that you need to consider that rather than what is the potential. Because we always, I shouldn't say always, but it's easy to romanticize potential on Amazon because there is really no limit on Amazon for any brand. So that's usually not hard, but I think it's really been realistic and have really good kind of arrive at good kind of a number that makes sense is where it becomes tricky, right? So, okay, so let's talk through the factors that you have a baseline of past performance, and you can obviously kind of plan that out for future with the following factors. So first of all, consider your anticipated inventory interruptions within the next 12 months. I know it's hard. Hopefully we'll not have another COVID supply disruption. And I know things happen, but you can probably, you have some sense, right? Do you think you can inventory your Amazon, especially with bestsellers, without major interruptions? The more confident you feel, the more likely you can keep at least on the same baseline as, let's say, a year before, assuming that everything else is going to be similar, right? And you have no major business changes from the prior year, or whatever the year that you want to use the baseline. So then the next one is, do you plan for new product launches? So that's a good factor, right? That you should anticipate sales lift. There isn't really a magic number to say, well, I can say that you should plan for at least 10% minimum sales lift for a new SKU, right? For new parent SKU. However, also, you probably have some anticipation, perhaps based on your either research or your performance. That SKU is already off Amazon, you want to bring it to Amazon. So of course, that's going to be additional sales lift. Then the next factor is, do you plan for any big changes in your fulfillment, in your operation, or perhaps do you consider switching your Amazon agency, whatever support, if you do it outside, if you have it outsourced? Each of those changes introduce risk. So you need to cushion for that. So don't be overly optimistic if you are planning to make big changes, because no matter how well you plan, things break down in execution. And especially if you're retail, where I know that if you're out of retailer, sometimes it's impossible to get back in. So usually Amazon is the one that turns out to bear the brunt of being out of stock or whatnot, right? So each of those big changes, again, introduce risk, which means be more conservative with your projections. The next one is more data-based, right? So your marketing budget. So here I suggest to look at what is your average tacos, right? What is the percentage of sales is usually spent on Amazon for marketing? So let's say if on average you're 20-25% of sales is that number for marketing, right? So you can, if you don't want to, if you, how to say it, if you don't want to grow, increase your sales velocity, you can probably hold that as constant, even though keep in mind PPC cost bids will probably continue to increase. So you need to kind of also think like, can we make this more efficient? Which I think usually there is always opportunity for being more efficient with PPC. So, but you can, you know, you can still safely within the range use that as a constant again if you don't have any big plans to be, you know, constantly out of stock on your bestsellers, or you know, if you add new product, then you obviously need to consider that as well for your marketing. So can you you know, add those marketing dollars to support that growth as well? But here again, you can use your past tacos as more or less a range to be the baseline for future projections. All right, so here we've talked through if you're new to Amazon. I would still not recommend having, you can have 12 months projections as goals, as targets, right? But projections to make other decisions on when it comes to Amazon, that becomes a little bit sketchy, right? So, however, this factor should help you evaluate where you can be more conservative or more aggressive in your projections. Now, let's talk through if you're new to Amazon, and also in the end, I'm going to talk about qualitative consideration. That's probably more important than everything else. So you need to stay through the end because this is going to be relevant for everybody. But I want to make sure I don't leave out brands that are new to Amazon. So here, if you, sometimes I get that ask for proposals, which I will not do because it could complete disservice to everybody. So if you're new to Amazon and you say, listen, I need to project my 12 months out, how far we can get in 12 months. And again, I get it because you want to kind of have a sense of your return investment. You perhaps need to budget it to, you know, in front of your CFO and such, but you cannot have that far out. So it's a complete crapshoot. Now, how the better question here to ask is, how can we measure success of Amazon? What is the right way to measure success on Amazon? We're brand new to Amazon. First of all, your goalpost should be smaller in, let's say, 3 months increment. So in 3 months, you should be going from 0 to being available to sell on Amazon. From months 3 to 6, you should have consistent, maybe not necessarily, you know, huge, depending again on your ambitions there, you know, but consistent sales. You need to start getting some data, right? So, you know, are we getting sales? Is our advertising bringing sales, even if it's not efficient advertising it, is it bringing us sales? Do we feel like Amazon is in good hands? Are we fulfilling order well? Like, do we have operationally kind of have a good sense where it's at? So those are really the right ways to measure success. And then within that first year, you will start getting data, and then you can more confidently make sales projections and also goals. And because marketing, advertising is a big lever really for sales velocity. So then you can start really project sales based on your, where you want them to be, your advertising, and so on. Okay, so that is for our new to Amazon, right? So we want to have the right measure of success is not really sales projections, but more shorter, more qualitative metrics of success. Now, what is the very last, but I think most important consideration for a question to really ask and answer to the best of your ability when it comes to projections out? You need to know as a founder, as an owner, or as somebody who's responsible for Amazon, have a question. What season are you in as a brand? And this is especially for those that are already established. Are you in a season of growth, or are you in a season of getting more profit? And no, you cannot focus on both at the same time. Believe me, I've tried in my business too. And this is the biggest problem that we run into. This is where it really becomes, creates healthy friction, I would say, sometimes with our clients, because we can definitely, there is the relationship, it's a little bit of a seesaw, because growth is, in not just on Amazon in general, growth usually implies some risk because it requires doing something new. It perhaps requires new launches or testing something new. You have to do things differently often to grow, because if you cannot stagnate and grow, you either growing or you're dying, just like in nature, right? So it implies risk, and by that, sometimes it's innovation, right? In some shape or form, even if it's execution, innovation. By definition, growth opposes efficiency, and profit is usually about efficiency. Often we find more profit in some type of efficiency, right? So if we have our fundamentals in place, then in the further growth, efficiency, profit is found in more efficiency. So growth is not efficient. So that's why if you're in the first year, you're absolutely about growth. Absolutely getting sales, traction, momentum, reviews, some type of equity search results. That is the one and only goal if you want to be successful in Amazon long term. That's just the reality of it. So that's no BS reality. So no matter what anybody says to you. But if you're out beyond your first year, if you're seasoned in Amazon, if you are in 6-7 figures in monthly sales, then you need to be cognizant of your season of growth or season of profitability. So if your investor or stakeholder says, no, listen, we need to double our sales, we need to go from 5 million to 10 million, and we need to increase our profit, from 10% to 30%. That is kind of a little bit unfair. It depends on the timeline, I guess. It's somewhat unfair goal, right? So you can tackle it, but you need to do it one at a time. So that is really qualitative type of question to really, when you sit down to projections and your budget planning, you need to be aware. Are we in growth of growth season, or are we in profitability, getting more profitability season? And if you're not sure, then send me a question. You can find us at redrocksecommerce.com. You can also download our Amazon for CPG brands playbook. That is a good start if you are not sure what's going on with your Amazon, if you want to get more profit and more sales. Thanks, and we'll talk soon.